There's EJB. So
there goes Hinchcliffe.
Yeah. All right, well, we'll watch for more of that perhaps as the green flag is just about to come out. Johnny Rutherford driving the pace car, and it leaves the racetrack at pit entrance right there. So the cars now begin their two abreast formation. That's the new rule this year in IZOD Indycar competition. This is our first restart of the day. Man, did they look nice coming down for the restart.
Yeah, they may play a little bit nicer. You got teammates on the first two rows, so they gave each other plenty of room.
That's Castro-Neves.
Yeah.
Oh, and a car has spun back there. That is the 18 car of James Jakes. James Jakes, one of the rookies in the series this year, and it appears as if the car has stalled, and there is a local yellow at that particular part of the racetrack right now, but if he can't get going, they will have to bring out a full course caution to get him going. Look at the racing note that's going on.
Yeah, it's busy here, and this is almost the best opportunity to try to make some spots up is right after a restart. Guys are bottled up. This is where they try to really make something happen. Boy, Powers, he's on it.
Yep. He's pulled away a little bit from Ryan Briscoe. Dixon third, on board with Dario Franchitti, who was running in 5th position. Top of your screen, you'll see the ticker going by. Franchitti 2.090 seconds behind.
Orioles Serbia just ahead.
Well, it's throttle. And a local yellow down there. These guys are telling the drivers if somebody spun out in turn 1 to be careful.
Car's still there, but again, the Homontro safety team is there to give him the restart. So local only in that particular portion of the racetrack. That's Serbia up ahead of Dario Franchitti. Behind him is Justin Wilson.
Again, new colors. Those are the charter colors for Wilson, the Clorox colors for Franchitti. There's quite a few of these cars. Again, second in the shot there. We're not used to seeing Ryan Briscoe in those Penske truck rental colors. So same with Castro-Neves, red, white, and blue for him. So through the race, we have to keep reminding each other that certainly, and that's going to be a theme this year, in that there's going to be sponsor changes throughout the season. They were announced early on that they'll shift these cars as the season goes on.
And there is Saavedra, Sebastian Saavedra, again another graduate of the Firestone Indy Light Series, and Saavedra moves up to 19th position.
He had told, Wally and I talked to him just before the start of the race and said, my strategy is to stay clean, stay out of trouble. So what does he do? Picks up 6 spots, boom.
That is Danica Patrick right behind him, and Charlie Kimball behind Danica Patrick. Danica, of course, in the green, Charlie Kimball in an orange, white, and green car this year. And this is Charlie's first race, rather first year in the IZOD IndyCar Series, up from the Firestone Indy Lights, and he is the first licensed driver in this series who has diabetes, and during the entire race his blood sugar is monitored, and if he is low on blood sugar he can take a drink from his bottle, and it's really incredible to see that a driver who has type 1 diabetes in the race car.
And we had to change the position as we were talking about that, Bob. Turn 5, still the hot place to pass. Excellent, because we had predictions that you couldn't get it done, and we're seeing it getting done in turn 5. That's great news.
This is the 12th consecutive race on a road course that Will Power has led, going back to Edmonton in 2009. But his advantage over Ryan Briscoe in yellow and white, very, very small, about 5 or 6 car lengths. We mentioned that Elio Castro-Neves got off course.
Oh, he got help from behind, Wally.
I don't know if he did or not on that. It was awfully close, but I know these guys have really been complaining about the cars twitching under braking, especially when the tires are not up to temperature.
And Castro-Neves has now fallen back into 9th position, about 0.6 of a second.
Helio Castroneves wasn't real sure what kind of race car he was going to have. They were great here at the test a few weeks ago, and his two teammates still have a good setup, but his didn't work. Everything changed. They changed it before the morning warm-up. After the warm-up, he said they would change again, so they were coming in a little bit blind.
And to follow up on that, the reason he has to run a different setup is that Will Power, we know last year was a left foot braker. Ryan Briscoe has now changed to left foot braking, but Castroneves has not. So he cannot run the same setup. So he says, right now, I'm kind of the odd man out, and I think I'm going to have to by next season.
Helio Castroneves, last year's winner, is now running in 9th position. Tim Senrick, the president of Penske Racing, looks on as Will Power leads this event. Wednesday, but on Tuesday, gear up with Liam McHugh, Keith Jones, and Jeremy Roenick as they break down each matchup and hear from key players before the puck drops. It's the playoff preview show, Tuesday, 7 o'clock Eastern on Versus.
Well, Bob, Will Power out front right now, and they're getting about 2.8 miles to the gallon, which is a little bit less than most teams need. Jan mentioned the big game here today. That is save fuel, but stay out front. That's very difficult to do when you're leading the race. Most teams need about 3.2 miles to the gallon to make it to lap 31. That's your goal. If you can make it there, Kevin, you can make it a 2-stop race.
And Tony Kanaan's team was planning on making it a 3-stop race starting all the way back in 24th, but they picked up 10 spots on the first lap. That went out the window. He's now going to pit with the leaders.
J.R. Hildebrand just pitted, and it was not because they were wanting to go off strategy. He had that contact at the beginning with Rafa. He said at the time, I think the front nose is loose. They determined, though, they didn't think it was, and he kept going. Well, then they think they bent the right front toe link because his speeds are so slow. He came in and changed the nose, and he is, as you see, back out.
But he is currently in 25th position. Tony Kanaan, as we expected, having one heck of a race, and you will hear us refer to him during the season as TK. That's how he's known in the racing circle. So when you hear TK, you know it is Tony Kanaan. And the number on that car is number 82. And the reason for that is in 1965 at the Indianapolis 500, Jim Clark drove the Lotus to victory with the number 82. And so in remembrance of that, it's number 82 on the Geico-sponsored machine that's driven this year by Tony Kanaan.
You see how busy this place is, and these cars are they're very hard to turn, and you can actually see that on the onboard. You can see when they're turning these cars, taking a lot, and you don't have a whole lot of play. You come up over this hill flat. It's a violent racetrack on a race car driver because you're accelerating hard, you're braking hard, you're cornering. There's no real long straightaways to get a break around this place.
And one thing about Tony Kanaan and all three of the KV cars is check out the mirror color and also the color of the front flap. That's how you tell the cars apart. So Tony Kanaan is yellow, Sato is white, and EJ Viso is green. Otherwise, the cars are identical. So that's how we try to tell when they come towards us.
And Wally, one of the things we talked about on the qualifying show yesterday is the elevation change. Now, it doesn't appear very significant, but it really is in a couple of areas.
Yeah, it is. And you can see some of these places when they go down into the hill really hard. The car really, really compresses, and you're turning at the same time. And it just feels like about 500 pounds of force through that steering wheel. And that's why some of these guys are, driving a little bit hurt this weekend. It's really going to be tough, especially as we get further into the race.
And we talked about Viso, and you can see him, one car, of course, that's Vitor Mira in between the two teammates. And I mentioned at the opening of the show that Tony Kanaan had gone to Sato setup. Well, the same thing for EJ Viso. And the team had said, well, that's the great thing about having three cars. We had two cars that were out to lunch. We had one that was nice. So we moved both these cars to the same setup. And EJ Viso, he's charging.
Well, Viso had a rather hard crash on Friday.
Oh, here comes Bourdais.
Oh, nice move to the inside of Mike Conway and taking the position. Wow.
And that's almost the way you got to do. You got to almost surprise somebody coming down in there. And there's also the crossover move. You could go down in there deep and blow it and have the guy cross underneath you. But if you can stay side by side, the next corner is a right-hander.
You can see Will Power is coming up on the lapped car of J.R. Hildebrand that we had the report from a few minutes ago, having made the pit stop. Ryan Briscoe, meanwhile, continues to ride along in second position behind the leader of the race. It's about a half second behind. Will Power up ahead.
Now we should say that Will Power, in this case, I'm sorry, Briscoe, also